Now, let us start with the second question of this first part, the first printed book. First question I have explained the first printed book, right? So, here the question was, what are the different stages of print? Now, the second question of the first printed book is, by the 17th century, as urban culture bloomed in China, the uses of print diversified. Explain the statement. Or see the how did the print diversified in China? This would be the question. So we are seeing here the diversification of print in China. That is the second. Diversification of print in China. That the question is, by the 17th century, as urban culture bloomed in China, the uses of print diversified. Explain this. So this kind of question have been oftenly asked in board, or in a simple way, how could print diversified in China? Explain, right? Sometimes also a question to state, how did Shanghai become hub of the new print culture of China? So here we are going to see, when there is everyone you can understood diversification. Diversification means what? That a new kinds of printing. That is a diversification, because earlier the print was referred to the print, or the scope was limited to the scope was only limited. See, books was there. Sometimes scholars, student, or the upper class used to write it, right? Later on, we have seen it was also used by the religious people like churches, monks, etc. So it was limited to the elite class, upper class, right? But when we see that, when the technology come into existence, see, the print will be diversified. And one thing also, one thing also is responsible for the diversification is that the urbanization, right? When there is a urban culture, then the use of the print diversified. For that, see, merchant will start using, the writers would be there, the musician would be there, the different branches of the jobs would be there, and each one needed different kinds of book. So the new narrative, fiction, poetry, drama, all come into existence, and that is a diversification of print. So you understand why when the diversification would be there, when the urban culture. So we are going to have answer with here. The first point we will write here, that is a urban culture. See, urban culture diversified, or urban culture come into existence in China in 17th century. 17th century means 1600 to 1699. So we see that the urban culture come into existence in China in the 17th century, right? So 1600 onward, we will see that the city come into existence, and when the city come into existence, the lot of scholars activities come into existence. The upper or elite class women must have a leisure time, and when they have a leisure time, the women also started reading and writing. The scholars started printing their text of their wives. So in this way, we have seen that when the elite class or the aristocratic class come into existence, they start writing in a different forms. Second, the women also got a time, a leisure time, which also resulted the diverse. So urban culture here, that because you know that why urban culture, when why we are talking to the women, because when we compare to the rural women and urban women, the urban woman has a more time because their work is done by the male. They are they possess a scholar. They are the scholars wife and the rich people's wife. So as a result, they are having more leisure time, and they use their leisure time in writing and printing books. So we have seen different kinds of books come into existence. So the urban culture bloomed in China. Urban culture comes into existence in China in 17th century, which helped to diversification of print, and the new reading will also come into existence. That is, a woman start writing, and later on we will see that the common people also adopt the printing, and that we make the second point is that the diversification of print. Diversification of print. So when the urban culture, because lots of new jobs are there, new kind of works are there in urban area, so the employment is there, the merchants needs records and others, so different kinds of printing works are coming to existence. As a result, print diversify. Not only this, the art of the book or the different subjects come into existence, and for that different subjects, different kinds of text material come. So altogether we have seen, due to the urban culture, we have seen the print diversified. Now it also new readership. New readership, right? So the new readers come into existence. Earlier, the print was limited to elite class or aristocrats. Sometimes the wives of the scholars, then they had the leisure time, they used to read and write. But the new reader, that is a common people, come into existence, and these common people also because these common people are the backbone of the urban economy, and to perform the urban economy, the reading, writing materials, the jobs, the workers' skilled development of skill was necessary, and all this could be possible by the being a readers, being a literate person. As a result, we see that the new readership also come into existence. And when the new readership, like when we talk about the new readership earlier, number one, what would be the new readers? Number one, children. Number two, women. And number third, workers. These would be a new readers, right? And finally, to cater the needs of the new readers, and technology have already, because we have seen when the 17th century, again one thing, because the print come into existence in China, but it catered the needs in the ancient time or a little bit medieval time. But in the modern period, when we talk about the 17th century urban culture, they exported, Chinese people exported, the Chinese people imported lots of new printing technology to China, and as a result, we have seen the cost of the when the technology is good, the production is fast. As a result, the cost of the book would be cheaper, and when the book is cheaper and abundant, we have seen the new readers, that is, children, women, and workers, needs to be catered. And finally, we have seen there are certain pockets where these kinds of activities are performed more, and that recognized as a hub of the printing culture. So we see here the next we have seen the urban culture, second diversification, and third new readership, and see the fourth, that is a Western style, that I explain you, the Western printing technology. Western printing technology come into existence, which help to produce more and more in number of books and also reduce the cost. And as a result, we see that the certain pockets is well known for their printing technology, well known for the books and the printing materials. And in this time, we see that the Shanghai, that is a very important center of important city of China with the Western style school. We have seen here that shift from mechanical to shift from the hand printing, that is a block printing, to mechanical printing, and finally Shanghai became hub of the printing culture. Hub of the printing. Shanghai became the hub of the printing. So here that I told you in the second, altogether in first part, the first printed book, we see that different stages of print, in which we see that paper examination and wood block printing reached in China. See here, coming to existence in China in Common Era 594, and finally due to the bureaucratic system it explored more, and the first traditional book is accordion book, and here the calligraphy also coming to exist. But this is a story of the ancient time, and it flourished up to the middle. But as we will read in the second topic, that when the print reached to the Europe, and there is a diversification of print and the new technology come into existence, that we will read in the second, when the print comes to Europe. Here we understood that the print start in China, it traveled to Japan, and that is another point that we are going to read here, that we understood here China in the ancient and medieval period, the books continued, that is a book woodblock printing, and when the urban culture diversified in the 17th century, they took the help, or the technology imported China. Technology was imported in China from the Europe, and finally the Shanghai became the hub of printing culture. In the first printed book, we are having a second topic also that we are going to explain in the next question. See here, that is print in Japan. Let me rub this. See 1.1 printing Japan. As I have explained that the print discovered in China in the form of woodblock technology, finally it reached to the Japan, right? See, by the Buddhists. See, the question would be describe the progress of print in Japan, or trace the history of print in Japan. So we are going to see the progress of print in Japan. Progress of print in Japan. So question that again I explained, describe the progress of print in Japan, or explain the history of print, or trace the history of print in Japan. 5 more questions that I am going to explain 5 or 6 points. See, the first would be a Buddhist missionary. See, the Buddhist missionaries oftenly used to travel from one country to another country in search of knowledge and enlightenment. In the meantime, see, the Buddhist country visited China, and they saw that there is a printing, a woodblock technology is there. So finally, in the Common Era, that instead of AD, I am writing CE, Common Era, 768 to 770. So in this common era, we have seen that the Buddhist missionaries brought the idea of print from China to Japan, right? And the second point we are going to make here is a Diamond Sutra. So what is a Diamond Sutra? It is a book. It is the oldest Japanese book which is printed in CE, that common era 868, right? So Buddhist missionaries visit to China and brought the idea of print to Japan, and finally we have said that it's a text, the first book come into existence, first text material come into existence in the form of book, and which is here the Diamond Sutra. It's a religious text material which was based on the Buddhist preaching in common era 868. Now here, when we are tracing the history of Japan, this is the ancient setup and the medieval period coming to existence. So we see that diversification of print will also visualize here. Diversification of print in Japan. See here. So new printing come into existence. New printing means print would be not limited to book only. It was printed for the textile. So cloth is what the printing of cloth come into existence. Print was also used for the playing cards, right? On cards the print were being used. Some not only this, the paper money also come into existence where the print. So we have seen that the first printed book is Diamond Sutra, but later on diversification of print is there here, and a new text material, sometimes on textiles, sometimes on paper, sometimes paper money also coming to. So these are the diversification, and we all diversification right now I am talking about in the ancient period. Now in medieval period, see, in medieval Japan, medieval, in medieval Japan, what we will see that due to the circulation of woodblock or becoming a better, the book is cheaper and abundant, that reduced the cost, and which resulted a lot of circulation of books among the common. So during the medieval period we have seen, or at the end of the medieval period we have seen that the print become more here the cheap and abundant. As a result it is spread to the common people. And when we talk about in modern Japan, we see that, and modern Japan, modern period here start 18th century. We can see in the 18th century we see that a lot of diversification is there. The print technology also imported in Japan from the Western European world, and see here the urban culture also flourished. As I told about, in China the Shanghai became the hub culture. Similarly here, that the Edo, sometimes question asked what is a Edo? Edo is a old name of Tokyo. Old name of Tokyo. That is a most important city of the Japan. So this, as I know, in the modern period when the urban culture bloomed, we see that certain centers, certain pockets become a more specialized, and that is referred as a hub of printing. And here we have seen that in Japan, the Edo became the hub of the printing, or it is the old name of Tokyo. And now I would like to give you the examples of the diversification here, that Kitagawa Utamaro. Kitagawa Utamaro. See, first time we have seen that the print diversity or the scenery, the landscape or day-to-day work come into existence. So here the Kitagawa Utamaro, who is a great a kind of painters, a kind of philosophers come into existence, who visualize or who explore the new worlds of the picture. See here, and he invented a new art which is known as ukiyo-e. Ukiyo-e. This is a pronunciation ukiyo-e. This is a ukiyo-e. But sometimes question asks, what do you mean by ukiyo-e? It's a picture of the floating world. What do we mean by picture of floating world? Earlier there was a standstill pictures, especially in portrait form, that the picture of king, picture of religious deities, goddess. See, but here we have seen the picture or the horizon of picture expand, and the floating world, see, sceneries, day-to-day activities come into existence, and this form as first. So the Kitagawa Utamaro is compared with the present day Mozart and those who are the specialized or giant in the printing and pictures, right? So we see that due to the blooming of the urban culture, that is Edo in Tokyo, we have seen the ultimately print diversified, and a new kind of a picture, new kind of a world, horizon of the picture expand, and ukiyo, a kind of technique, a kind of art come into existence that depicted the floating worlds. Now, so this is a journey of print from China to Japan. Again I summarize, the print reached China in the year 768 to 770 Common Era by the Buddhist missionary, and the first Buddhist book here, or the text material, that is a religious one, is a Diamond Sutra, which was having a known 868 Common Era. Now print diversified, and in the medieval period we have seen, due to the cheap and abundant, lots of circulation we could see in the medieval Japan. And in the modern Japan, when we talk in the 18th century, they imported the lots of printing. Until now, we have seen the print has already, the print technology had already developed. So they imported, the Japanese imported the new printing technology from the Europe, and see the print diversified more, and see the Edo, that is the old name of Tokyo, is became the hub of the printing culture in Japan. And here with example we see that the Kitagawa Utamaro is he could be associated with the present day monarch, right? So, and his art form is ukiyo-e, which is a picture of the floating world. So we see from China the technology of print reached to Japan, and later on in Korea also. So in Asia we have seen that is the existence of print, which start from the China and travel to Japan, and finally in Korea. So in the South Asia, in the Asia we have seen different parts of the world. We have different parts of the area of Asia. The print reached from one part to another, and in the second that is a prints come to Europe, that we will explore here, that how this the idea of print from China reached to Europe, that we will read in the second video. Till then, enjoy the reading. Thank you.